Okay, something a bit different from me today. This is content that isn't sponsored, but I have been sent a couple of microphones by Harman Pro at no cost to myself, so I'll mark the content as sponsored. But I haven't been given any restrictions on the things that I can say about these microphones, other than will I please take them and test them out. So let's unbox one of these microphones, have a quick look, see what's different about it. Is new, just released. And we'll look at the specs and we'll give it a quick audio test before I take it out later this spring on some actual gigs. So let's just break the seal on this one. On both sides. So these microphones are available by retail here in the UK, about £120 for one microphone. So taking it off, we have one quick start guide, which explains that I need to attach the clip and plug it in. Remind me that we need to use phantom power for this because it is a condenser microphone. So in the box, very simple, straightforward, but that's part of what the target market is for this mic. We've got clamp, nice and solid feeling, and here's the microphone itself. So that's got a good weight to it actually. Feels very solid, very nice. AKG have used some recycled materials for the manufacture of these microphones, and it's got a nice finish. Badged AKG. This microphone is very simple. It's got no pad controls, it's got no low roll-off controls, but for most applications, to be honest, it simply doesn't need them. Let's see how well the clip goes on. Oh yeah, that's really solid. That's good. That's what I like to see. Pretty compact, standard size, and just what I'd expect. Nice metal grill on the end, and a really solid XLR socket. Okay, let's make sure anything else in the box that I've missed. Nope. Okay, let's plug it in. Let's talk about the specs and the potential applications and see how we get on. Okay, so I have plugged the microphone in. It's running through a pretty cheap USB mixer and then straight into my iPhone for this purpose of this recording. So you can tell that obviously the sound is much tightened up compared to just using my phone's microphone. But I'm in my dining room, as you can probably tell, just as a family house. There is nothing special acoustically about this room, so there might be a little bit of reverb, but you can tell this is a nice clear vocal recording. Actually, I'm pleased with the test that I've just listened back to. So about the microphone then, well, it's definitely at the very affordable end of the spectrum. I'm already using some rather famous pencil condenser microphones of another well-known German brand, but those ones cost me 4 or 5 times what one of these things would cost. The differences in some aspects are that this microphone has a slightly higher noise floor by about maybe 8 dB or so when it's A-weighted, but this microphone actually also has a higher maximum allowable sound pressure level by about 5 dB or so on the spec sheets when it reaches 0.5% distortion. So this microphone very capable of recording lots of sources, and for which reason, with such a high maximum sound pressure level, the absence of a pad switch is not really an issue for many sources. It also doesn't have a bass roll-off switch, as some of the more expensive pencil condensers do. But if we look at the spec sheet, which I've got here, it does have a gentle bass roll-off from about 200 hertz where it starts to roll off, and then by the time you get down to the lowest frequency that it's stated to respond to at 20 hertz, you're getting to about minus 15 dB, which means that it will sound a little bit more bass-light than some large diaphragm condensers or some of the other famous pencil condensers potentially, but in a lot of live sound applications, which is my primary use, and also voice work, gentle bass roll off I would typically apply on the sound mixer anyway. So having that response built into the microphone, really not a problem for nearly any source that I would apply it to. So that's totally fine. When you look at the top end of the spectrum, after the rather flat band in the mid-range, we've got a small peak about sort of 5 to 6 kilohertz where it's a few dB up, and then a little dip, and then another sort of reinforced band about 8 to 12 kilohertz or so, 8 to 11 kilohertz or so. There's a little extra peak. And again, comparing that to more expensive microphones, they would probably have a rather smoother response around those areas, even if they did have some of that emphasis. But nevertheless, as you can hear, it's a pretty good response on the voice, and on AKG's website you can also listen to samples with guitars and things, and it carries that off very, very admirably. And there are also sample recordings on YouTube with it conducting overhead duties, drum overhead duties, which is one of the uses that I'm going to try and put this to. And it sounds pretty good, and especially at the price point, bearing in mind one of these will cost me a quarter or a fifth of what some of my other condenser mics will do. And actually, if the slightly higher noise floor is not really an issue, which it wouldn't be for loud sources, and especially in live environments, that's totally fine, totally acceptable. So this one could be finding a space in my microphone set. What else do we need to say about it? Well, sensitivity, decent, slightly lower than some of the competition, but still decent. Very standard specs on things like impedance. It's a signal to noise ratio rated as 73 dB reference for 1 Pascal. That's perfectly respectable for a microphone, especially at this price point. Standard cardioid pattern, again with more expensive and much larger condenser microphones, you might get pattern choice, but this is a totally standard cardioid pattern, very useful for standard voice recording, guitar recording, overheads, and all sorts of other things like that, where you don't want don't need a particularly long reach. That'd be totally acceptable. I wouldn't necessarily put this on a lectern if I had a long throw between the speaker and the microphone, but even so, it should do a credible job, provided that the PA wasn't too close. And that's probably most of what I need to say at this point. I'm going to test it on some live scenarios soon, but I am initially impressed by its overall feel and build quality. It feels very solid. Initial recording tests like this, they come out well. The clip feels sturdy, that's all I want. I don't mind about the fact that there's no pad when it can take such a high SPL. I don't mind about the fact that there's no bass roll-off switch when it has a natural roll-off in it, and I can do that in the sound desk anyway, so that's not a problem. Perhaps I'd have liked to have seen foam windscreen for it in the box. But that's something that I can pick up cheaply elsewhere, and that's what I'll do when I use these in the outside, where that would be absolutely critical. AKG are aiming these at all sorts of different markets, describing it as purpose built for, and then giving a long list, which makes me think, well, maybe it's a bit more of a generalist microphone really, but musicians, podcasters, YouTubers and streamers alike. So it does sound like a microphone for the online streaming generation, and actually perfectly credible for that. It would look good on camera in a podcasting studio. Again, put a windshield on it if you're going to have close-up speaking, but otherwise this would be a good choice for nice clear sound with voices. So I'd certainly consider it for that, and definitely less imposing looking on camera than some of the famous podcasting microphones alternatives, which I think look rather large, which is fine when you're not on camera, but when you are, it does make a difference. If you're at home recording voice and guitar, consider this one. It's a brand new release, so you're going to be getting the advantage of for recent R&D and modern manufacturing techniques. Okay, thanks for listening and for watching. If you have any questions on this microphone, then send me a message. If you'd like to suggest anything that I would try using it for, then send me a message too. And a little bit later in the spring, when I've got some more gigs lined up, I will be taking this microphone out, taking some pictures of it in use, and feeding back on how it goes. So this is the AKG C151, brand new release in the UK. It's about £120 as its price point, widely available at retail at the moment, so you can pick this up very easily, and one to watch for sure.